air conditioning on a 1976 C10. So this ended up, from the last video seen, it had a leak at the rear head, and this is now the replacement that looks different than the original old Frigidaire A6. This is the new modern complement to that, and it's still used in mining equipment, earth equipment, large like Peterbilts and stuff. Still to this day they manufacture these to fit in the same place. Really good. Compared to the old ones, this actually even spins better than the old ones. It seems like it's a really low friction bearing inside here. It has the dust cover on it to protect it, because usually this is in a dusty environment, so you don't get to see the clutch. I pressurized it up, and these are all new hoses. The customer did this, and as you guys, some of you know, I don't go to customer's house usually unless it's a really good recommendation. This was an elevator guy who works in the elevator field who put this in. This is an upgraded condenser from the original condenser. As you could see, it has tighter tubes, more fins, and it has the small 6mm tubes. This was originally R12, and now this has an upgraded condenser. If you look on here, these little grommets that were added to hold the line like this, you know, most guys and mechanics would just take these and put some tie straps on them, or just, you know, just dingle it through something. And he actually added these. Very professional. I'd say this is better than most 90% of the shops I have do AC. Over on the accumulator. The accumulator, you know, of course they don't make the original, and it didn't fit quite right, and so he shimmed it out. And if you look right there, those like bolts right here where my finger's touching, and down here, they work just perfect. They hold the accumulator in the perfect position, so everything lines up good and straight. That's a lot better than a lot of mechanical shops I've ever seen do. So that's a big plus right there. I put it through, of course, the nitrogen. I went through with the bottle. Where's the bottle? For checking for leaks all over the place, even on the brand new lines. Never trust even brand new lines. Leak test all your lines, always hit them. Every gap, every weld, everything like that. Don't trust new stuff, it still can leak. So this is gonna sit in these situations when somebody puts a whole entire kit, and they don't do this every day for leaving, even garage. On an old car like this, I leave them charged up overnight with high pressure and nitrogen. You know, usually you do like 150 psi overnight. I did a short pressure decay test just to confirm it was good enough. I did a vacuum decay test. I'm trying to dry it right now. I'm actually putting it under vacuum, removing some of the moisture. I've already swept it twice with nitrogen, and this will be the third time I'll fill it up. It'll sit overnight. Tomorrow I'll come back. If the pressure still holds, everything's good to go, and I'll put it under vacuum again and then charge it up. Another thing, when you do these updated compressors, you read the instructions, because the old original system on this held 10 ounces of refrigerant oil, and as we all know, this was the old mineral system that had the old mineral oil. And a lot of the old compressors, when you would replace them with other old compressors, sometimes they would be the 100 peg oil or 100 ester oil. The originals were 150 viscosity peg, and the originals before that, when it was mineral, it was 500 viscosity mineral oil. So in this one, it's machined to tolerance of 46 viscosity PAG oil. So you got to know that. And it specifically gives you instructions to short the amount of oil by 3 ounces. So you don't put the original 10 ounces in, you actually short it a little bit. And as you can see, the probably reasoning behind, they don't have that big sump of the original. So here is the original compressor, and the original A6 has this big pregnant belly down here. Well, that's an oil pan like, and that holds 6 ounces of oil in there, that has an oil pump in the back, and it has a dip tube that goes down. It takes it out, it pressurizes it, throws it through a cross drilled crank all the way up front. As you can see, there's a really large gap on the compressor. And here's the original accumulator they don't make anymore, the original lines. This was a Four Seasons. This is what he first got, and the Four Seasons was, the gap was all messed up, and there was like no gap on here, just like that other Dodge that I had from Four Seasons about 2 weeks ago that I released the video on. He tried to undo the gap and he had the tool to do it, but it was so messed up. Then he found out that the manufacturer, when they rebuilt this, the old head on here was the old standard American threads, but they force fit metric thread into there and stripped out the threads in the back, right in the box from Four Seasons. This was this is Four Seasons, and so they had a bad compressor clutch gap adjustment, and they stripped out the heads by forcing a millimeter bolt into old ASE threads. So bad on you, Four Seasons, 2 weeks in a row. And that's about it. I would say this installation, I mean, even the grommets, you got the grommets going back in so it doesn't hit any metal. Everything looks really factory. I would say this job was done better than the majority of mechanics I've seen install systems. And that was it on this one. See you guys on the completion of filling this up and getting it started when it's up and running.